Welcome to Startup Brainframe, where we explore cross-domain synthesis for startups who want to build the future.
Today we're doing a deep dive into, well, a fascinating mind. Tyrion Lannister, you look at his whole journey, and he really is a man for all seasons, literally and metaphorically.
Absolutely. He's such a prime example of fighting with your brain with this really deep understanding of human behavior rather than just muscle or a sword.
Right.
So our mission today is to pull out some quick, actionable leadership insights from his story and, importantly, pair them with the neuroscience principles that sort of explain why his moves worked, or sometimes why they didn't.
Okay, let's start where the stakes are just incredibly high. The Vale. Tyrion's capture, he's wrongly accused of trying to kill Bran Stark, and, he's basically facing execution by Lysa Arryn.
Yeah, that's a moment where most people would just fold, right?
Yeah.
Panic, plead. But instead of letting that fear totally take over, Tyrion makes what I think is his first really great strategic pivot. He demands trial by combat and gets his freedom through Bronn, of all people.
That's sheer resourcefulness, definitely. But what happens right after that on the road? That's maybe even more insightful.
Oh, you mean with the Stone Crows?
Yeah, exactly. They're surrounded by these fierce mountain clansmen, total barbarians, and they ask him straight up how he wants to die. I mean, talk about a situation designed to max out your fear response.
And Tyrion just disarms them. Not with a weapon, but with a joke, basically.
Yeah.
Tells Shaggy, in my own bed at the age of 80 with a belly full of wine.
Right there is perfect reframing under threat. Our brain's fear center, the amygdala, it just wants to scream fight or flight. But Tyrion, he engages his prefrontal cortex, the reasoning part. He overrides that panic.
And the humor itself, what's the power there, neuroscientifically speaking?
Well, humor is like a circuit breaker. When those stone crows laugh, their mirror neurons activate. It forces this immediate emotional shift.
Right, so they go from seeing him as just a target
to seeing him as maybe intriguing or potentially valuable. He literally turned a deadly threat into a negotiation just by changing the emotional vibe.
So the actionable tip here for any founder facing a crisis is, well, solutions are usually there, even if they feel completely invisible. You've got to train your brain to respond logically, pause that fear, and, shift the playing field, sometimes with just wit.
Agreed. So if wit gets you out of the mountains, maybe sheer assertion gets you through King's Landing. Remember when Tyrion arrives as Hand in Season 2? He steps into this absolute viper's nest. Joffrey, Cersei, chaos.
Yeah, and he wastes zero time. Just walks in, disrupts Joffrey's name day, basically disrespects the king publicly, then tells the small council flat out, I'm in charge now, in my father's place. No tiptoeing.
That's pure dominance signaling. It's basic evolutionary psychology. Status is a huge motivator for humans, like lots of primates. We're wired to instantly recognize hierarchy. So when you step into a new situation with clear confidence, asserting your role, it triggers submission responses. People know who's leading.
So for leaders taking over, say, a new team or entering a new market, the lesson is pretty clear. Don't ease into it. Make it immediately undeniably clear who's running the show. Otherwise, you're just playing catch-up later.
Right. And once you've established authority, the next game is survival. Especially us in Hand, you've got to deal with internal threats. Tyrion knows everyone is spying on him.
And his solution is just elegant, this little social experiment. To figure out who's linking info to Cersei, he tells Varys, Littlefinger, and Pycelle 3 different fake stories about marrying off Myrcella.
This shows really advanced theory of mind. It's not just knowing what people know, it's modeling how they'll act based on that information, knowing their motivations. He sets the trap perfectly.
Because he knows one of them will use the information against him.
Exactly. And when Cersei storms in later, repeating the exact lie he told only to Pycelle, boom, he's got him.
And he doesn't just identify the leak, he acts immediately. Consequences.
Correct. And neurologically, there's this satisfaction there. It's called reward prediction. He predicted the betrayal. And when it happens just as expected, the brain's reward center, the striatum, lights up. He basically weaponized the spying itself to get the truth.
So the crucial tip for founders seems to be, plan ahead. Don't just react to today's fire. Stay a few moves ahead and maybe even strategically test your inner circle sometimes. See how information flows.
Yeah, but not all his methods are quite so elegant, are they? He gets Lancel Lannister as a spy through straight-up blackmail, finding out about him and Cersei.
Right, and the level of control he gets is kind of shocking. Lancel is apparently so terrified, he tells Bronn later, if anything happens to Lord Tyrion, please kill me. That's extreme.
That's raw fear conditioning. You link compliance to a really powerful negative emotion. It creates a very reliable informant, at least in the short term.
But should leaders use fear like that? Is that sustainable?
Well, here's the really crucial nuance, I think. Fear absolutely sparks action. It gets compliance. But it never, ever builds real loyalty or, genuine commitment.
Right.
It breaks the second the threat is gone. So yeah, avoid leading through fear if you want something that lasts.
Okay, let's shift gears a bit from pure strategy to his moral compass. There's that powerful moment when Joffrey is publicly humiliating Sansa in the Great Hall.
Yeah.
And Tyrion steps in. He silences the king, protects her dignity, knowing full well he's putting himself in serious danger.
That decision isn't about cunning strategy, is it? It's about principle. That act is driven by the anterior cingulate cortex, the brain region that handles moral courage. It weighs the moral choice against the personal cost.
It compelled him to act against injustice, even with the risk.
Exactly. The immediate cost could have been huge, but the long-term payoff, trust. Everyone watching saw exactly what kind of leader Tyrion was in that moment.
It's a powerful lesson. Show up for your people, especially when they're vulnerable or being mistreated. That's how you build deep trust and really set the moral tone for, your whole organization.
And that trust, that influence becomes critical later. Battle of Blackwater Bay, Tyrion engineers the wildfire trap, brilliant strategy. But then Stannis' troops actually breach the walls. The Lannister soldiers start to panic. They're breaking.
It looks like it's over. But Tyrion, even wounded, rallies them. And his speech, it's a masterclass. He doesn't talk about glory or duty.
No, he makes it personal. He shouts, "This is your city." Stannis means to sack. It will be your houses he burns, your gold he steals, your women he will rape.
That's tapping directly into their immediate personal stakes, isn't it?
Absolutely brilliant persuasion. He connects his goal, defending the city, to their most basic, primitive motivators. Family, survival, their stuff.
And from a neuroeconomics view, why is focusing on the loss so much more effective than, say, promising rewards?
It's loss aversion. Study after study shows we're generally, twice as motivated by the fear of losing what we already have than by the possibility of gaining something new.
Huh. Interesting.
By reminding them what they were about to lose everything. Tyrion just masterfully hijacked that powerful brain circuitry, turned terrified men back into fighters.
So if you want to influence your team, or maybe your customers, the advice is connect your goals to what actually matters to them. Make it personal. Right. That shared purpose creates real ownership.
Right. But even the smartest people make big mistakes. Let's look at the darker times. His trial for Joffrey's murder. Betrayed, abandoned, mocked.
Yeah.
He demands trial by combat again. But this time, it's not really a choice, is it? Execution is certain. It's the only path left with any chance at all.
That's risk calibration under extreme duress.
Yeah.
When survival odds are zero, even terrible odds look rational. But the real tip here isn't about making desperate gambles right. It's about not getting into that situation in the first place.
Exactly. A wise person avoids the problem that forces that kind of choice. Stay ahead of the game so you don't end up choosing between disaster and a long shot.
And then, Oberyn loses the trial by combat. Tyrion's facing death. For real this time. But he gets rescued, Jaime helps him, Varys smuggles him out. It kind of shows the two types of luck, doesn't it?
It really does. You've got blind luck, Jaime risking everything purely out of brotherly love. But then there's created luck. Varys didn't save him just 'cause. He saved him because Tyrion had consistently shown he was smart, moral, decisive. Varys was investing in an asset.
Right. So founders can't bank on blind luck, but you absolutely maximize created luck by consistently building trust, delivering value, being someone people want to help when things go south.
Yeah.
Good karma, basically.
That said, let's not forget his major blunders, his diplomacy in Marine, total backfire, and his strategy for Casterly Rock. It let Cersei wipe out the Tyrells at Highgarden. Big mistakes.
Those were huge prediction errors. The brain region that detects when reality doesn't match expectations, the anterior cingulate cortex again, must have been firing like crazy. Tyrion's big blind spot, maybe. Assuming his enemies would be rational.
I think so. He failed to properly account for their emotional, sometimes irrational, motivations. So when the betrayals came, or the illogical moves, they hit him hard.
The lesson there is pretty timeless. Always hunt for your own blind spots. Question your assumptions. Assume your opponent might act illogically, because people often do.
Later on, advising Daenerys, we see his emotional regulation skills shine. Her instinct, especially early on, is often harsh punishment, intimidation, very reactive amygdala-driven stuff.
Yeah, kill the masters, make examples.
And Tyrion consistently pushes back, counseling fairness, strategy, thinking long-term instead of just reacting. He points out that killing people devoted to you isn't exactly inspiring loyalty.
Leaders who can control their own emotions, who use their prefrontal cortex, they guide groups much better than those running on raw instinct.
Definitely. So the actionable tip: inspire that devotion through fairness, through consistent strategy, not by being scary or volatile. That consistency builds psychological safety.
And then there's that moment he confronts Cersei alone. After his whole team fails to sway her, he literally walks into the lion's den, risking instant death.
That's pure fearlessness, which isn't, the absence of fear. It's the prefrontal cortex overriding those primitive danger signals and taking action despite the fear. He knows the risk. He acts anyway.
Powerful lesson there, too. Don't let fear of rejection, of failure, of looking stupid paralyze you.
Yeah.
Just act.
And his moral journey really culminates after Daenerys torches King's Landing. He publicly throws down the handspin, resigns right there in front of everyone.
That moment resolves this huge cognitive dissonance for him, right? His core morality, protecting the innocent, finally just outweighs his loyalty, his status, everything. He chooses internal consistency.
And maybe that's the ultimate tip for any leader. The right choice has to outweigh the paycheck or the title. Don't let ambition or money corrupt your core values. That dissonance eventually breaks people.
So fittingly, in the very last act, at the Great Council, Tyrion completely reframes leadership itself. Not about bloodlines anymore, not about power, about story and choice.
Yeah, he pitches Bran, famously asks, who has a better story than Bran the Broken? It's a masterstroke pitch. Our brains are wired for narrative. The hippocampus just eats up a good story.
He sells Bran's arc, the kid who survived impossible things, like a founder pitching a truly visionary product. And he cleverly ties it to Grey Worm's goal of seeing Dany's legacy fulfilled, to break the wheel, anchoring structural change in story.
The final actionable tip then. Always anchor whatever you're building, your product, your company, your mission, in a compelling story that connects and sticks.
Okay, so boiling down, maybe 3 core lessons for neurofounders from Tyrion's playbook. First, even the absolute sharpest leaders make huge prediction errors. The key is learning fast, correcting those biases.
Second, you need to be both book smart, strategic, analytical, and street smart. Understanding how people really behave, often irrationally, that combination is deadly and rare.
And third, never forget Varys' line. A very small man can cast a very large shadow, especially for startups facing giants, using intelligence, wit, moral consistency. That's how you create leverage and punch way above your weight.
So our call to action for you today is pretty simple. Just take a moment, maybe right after this, and try to spot one unseen opportunity or maybe one hidden threat in your own startup and market.
Yeah, like Tyrion sizing up the Stone Crows or looking at the weak points in Blackwater's defenses. Those small observations, if you really engage your thinking brain, can reveal massive leverage points.
Use that prefrontal cortex, not just the amygdala.
Thanks for your time investment into our show. See you in the next episode.